Welcome. Let's get started, shall we? Let's talk about understanding how websites work. A few things that you might already know, and maybe you don't, but I'll just go over them so we're all on the same page. A domain name is a unique name that identifies a website, such as duke.edu for Duke University or google.com for Google. Your web browser is a software that displays your web pages like Mozilla Firefox or Internet Explorer. Now that's called Edge, and we also have Chrome and Safari. Your web server is a computer or network of computers that stores web pages and makes them available on the internet. The reason we need web servers are because we don't want to leave our computers on all the time and let people access them. A hosting company is a place that rents web servers. And that would be like GoDaddy, SiteGround, Kinsta, there's a whole bunch. Your theme dictates how the site will look and how the information will be rendered for the visitor. Page builders let you see the design of the page as you edit and make changes to the content. We're going to be starting building with page builders so that you can have an easy time understanding how things work, and then we'll get into the code later. The plugins add specific snippets of code to change the way the site functions. Don't worry if this looks scary. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are a lot of the languages that we use when we are building websites. HTML gives you structure. That's your divs, your paragraphs, sections, things that tell the browser what the structure of the page should be like. CSS is a language for styling, and it gives rules like what color things should be, what fonts should be used, and all kinds of amazing things. JavaScript is when you want to do something with either HTML or CSS on your page and manipulate it in a way for the user to have a different experience. So you're doing something with that information. Web hosting and domain names. Web hosting is the place where you can rent web servers for people to host their websites on. Domain registrars are where you can buy domain names and register them on the internet so that people know where your name points to and who it belongs to. Now, people technically could get to your site with an IP address, but it's really hard to remember numbers. And so we really like to have names, and that's just the way it's done now. Hosting platforms, there's a ton of them, and I'm going to guide you through buying and choosing a hosting platform in a different video. For right now, I'll just go through a few. SiteGround is the company that I've chosen to show you on these videos because it's fast loading, secure, easy to use. I love the free SSL certificates, the free email addresses, and the free temporary domains. They make it really nice to whip up a site for a client, try something out, and then delete it if you're not using it anymore, without having to purchase a domain name for each thing or adding a temporary subdomain or something like that. Now, some other great hosting platforms are Flywheel, WP Engine, Cloudways, and Kinsta. But you could use anything technically that you want. It will be much easier to follow along in the videos if you can use the same one that I'm using, because you'll see where to push the buttons, where to go for different things, and it'll just make your life a lot less frustrating. So I would recommend getting a SiteGround account, and I'll show you how to do that in another video. Choosing a domain, and this deserves a lot of thought, but don't get hung up on it, because sometimes it's just better to get moving on something and then you can get your domain of your dreams later on and change your domain name. Find something that's short enough to use in an email address, easy enough to explain over the phone, and relevant to what you're doing. So like if your domain name is really long, it's going to be hard for you to explain to people what your email address is. You wouldn't want to be like, I'm Amy at theinterestexterminator.com, which actually used to be a domain name that I owned. But I've found that the shorter domain names are much easier to tell people over the phone. And try not to have two letters that are the same, like vowels in front of each other, because if you have two E's in a row or two I's or two A's or something, it just looks funny and it's going to confuse people and they're going to say, are you sure this is right? And then you'll have to explain it again. Yes, I know it looks funny, but it's right. Make sure that it's relevant to what you're doing as well, because if people don't understand it, it's going to be harder for SEO to catch on. Go to namecheap.com and see if it's been taken. Do a search for the name and see if it's being used already. And I'll have a video to show you exactly how to do that. And if you find something that you like that's going to fit your business, purchase it right away. Now, don't go crazy and purchase 100 domains. Just get the one that you think will work for this course, and then if you have found one for your name or for a business that you really want, you should purchase it, because things do disappear and there is a whole business of people who buy domains and flip them, much like property. So get the things that you want and while it's available. Responsive design basics. Things will stack naturally with the left side on top of the right side in a row. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about how things change when you look at them on your phone. So as we are building websites, we're often building them in a desktop computer or a laptop if you don't have access to a desktop. But you're going to see that you're going to get used to designing in a desktop mode, and you kind of forget that most people are looking at the website in their phone on a different device, which is vertical rather than horizontally oriented. So when things are responsive, most often they're going to stack naturally with the things from the left side on the top of the things that are on the right side in a row. Rows will stack on top of each other. And make sure that things are not too wide for the space. Make sure that the padding allows room for the content inside of it. And make sure that the text size is down appropriately on mobile, especially big headings and buttons. Be aware of text images. Sometimes it's hard to read when images are too small. The backgrounds need to be adjusted for mobile in a lot of instances, especially images. Sections or specific content can be hidden on mobile, tablet, or desktop as needed. Don't worry, we're going to go over a lot of these things all again, so just get an overview of how things work. When you're designing things, the desktop is horizontally aligned, but then when you switch to mobile, you will see that it aligns vertically with the things that are across going at the top, and then the left side of the row stacking on top of the right side of the row. All right, I will see you in the next video.